My mother handed me a check for $800 and told me it was more than enough to cover 3 months of rent while she and my stepfather moved to Phoenix. I was 27. I had just lost my job 2 weeks before. And the check bounced. She did not find out until I called her from a gas station parking lot where I had gone to cry in private because our apartment walls were thin and my roommate, her name was Cora. She was 22 and scared of conflict, would have heard everything. "Mom," I said when she picked up, "the check didn't go through." There was a pause. Then, "Are you sure you entered the routing number correctly?" I was not depositing a check I wrote myself. I was not new to money. I had been working since I was 15 and had never once bounced a check of my own. But I said yes, I'm sure, and gave her the bank's error code, and she said she would look into it and call me back. She did not call back. She texted 3 hours later, "Must be a processing issue. Give it a few days." I gave it a few days. Then a week. Then I called the bank myself. The account the check was drawn from had been closed before she handed it to me. Not emptied. Not overdrawn. Closed. As in, she had known when she pressed that paper into my hands. When she smiled and said, "800 should do it, sweetie." That there was nothing behind it. That was the moment I opened a notes app on my phone and typed, in plain unformatted text, "She gave me a check from a closed account." She knew. I did not know yet why I was writing it down. I only knew that my hands were shaking and I needed the words somewhere outside my own head before I talked myself out of believing them. My name is Maggie. I am 31 now. And what happened next? What I spent 3 years untangling, documenting, and finally laying out in front of people who actually listened, started with that check and ended with my mother standing in a room full of her own paperwork, unable to explain a single page of it. Do you want to know how a bounced check from a closed account became the thread that unraveled the one story she had been telling everyone, including me, for years? Stay with me, because by the time you understand what she was actually doing, you will never look at a family loan the same way again. The setup, as I later came to understand it, started long before Phoenix. My father died when I was 9. He left behind a small life insurance policy. Not life-changing money, but real money. $62,000, put in trust with my mother as the managing trustee until I turned 25. I knew about it in the abstract way kids know about things that feel far away. It existed. It would be mine someday. My mother mentioned it occasionally, usually when I asked for something she didn't want to pay for. "That's what the trust is for," she'd say, and the subject would close. I turned 25 and asked about it. She said the money had been used for expenses during a hard few years when I was in middle school. Bills, the mortgage, medical stuff. She said it with such practiced sadness that I felt guilty for even asking. Felt like I was digging up her grief to check the balance. I said okay. I let it go. I was 25 and thought I had time to build my own version of financial stability. I did not know yet that I was already behind in ways I couldn't see. The job I lost 2 weeks before the check. It was a coordinating position at a small events company, the kind of job where you are always almost making enough. I had been there 3 years. When they eliminated my position, they gave me 4 weeks of severance and a handshake. I had about $1,100 in savings. Not enough. And my mother knew that. I had told her. I had called her the same day I got the news, sat on my bathroom floor and cried into the phone. And she had said, "Don't worry. I'll help you through this." And then she handed me a check from a closed account and moved to Arizona. For the first 2 weeks, I kept expecting her to fix it. I kept waiting for a Venmo notification or a wire transfer or even a physical money order in the mail. I would open my banking app and stare at the number like maybe I had miscounted something. Nothing came. What came instead was a text from my aunt, her sister, a woman I had always called Aunt Ruthann even though her actual name was something more formal, asking if I had gotten settled into the new apartment yet. I almost said yes. I had been saying yes to things for so long that it was practically a reflex, but something in me paused over the keyboard. I typed back, actually. "I'm still figuring out the deposit situation." The check from Mom didn't go through. Aunt Ruthann called me within 4 minutes. She asked me to say that again. I said it again. The check was from a closed account. She went quiet in a way that felt less like surprise and more like something clicking into place. "Can you send me a photo of the check?" she asked. I took a picture and texted it. Another silence. "Then, Maggie, I need to ask you something and I need you to be honest with me. Did she ever talk to you about your father's trust?" My stomach dropped. I told her what my mother had told me. The bills. The mortgage. The hard years. Ruth Ann breathed in slowly on the other end. "Honey, I'm your father's sister. I was there when that trust was set up. She wasn't supposed to touch the principal. Management fees only. She wasn't supposed to use any of it without a trustee accountant sign-off. Do you have any documentation? Statements, letters, anything?" I didn't. I had never been given any. I had never asked for any, because when I was 25 and grieving and already feeling guilty for asking, no one told me I was supposed to. But I still had my phone. And I remembered that my mother, for all her instincts about self-preservation, had been careless with texts. I started scrolling back through our message history, 2 years back, 3. I screenshot everything that mentioned money, the trust, expenses, the house, her telling me not to worry, her saying it was complicated, her saying I'll explain it when you're older, and then later, it's already been handled, and later still, I did the best I could with what we had. I put the screenshots in a folder on my phone labeled Vacation Photos. It felt less fragile there somehow. Less like evidence and more like something I was just keeping for myself. Do you want to know how far back the paper trail went? What I found when I finally sat down with someone who knew how to read it? The first thing Ruth Ann said after she spoke to a family attorney friend was, "You need to request the trust documents from the county probate court. That's public record. Your name is on them. They can't keep you out." So I did. It took 11 days and a $20 filing fee. The documents arrived as a PDF in my email on a Tuesday morning while I was eating cereal at my kitchen counter because I'd been rationing food for 6 days. I opened the file on my laptop and read it twice, slowly because my brain kept snagging on the same line. The trust had been established with a balance of $62,400. The management provisions were clear: cost of living adjustments, no principal withdrawals without dual signatures, full accounting to the beneficiary at age 25. I had received no accounting. I had received no statements. I had been handed a number, there was nothing left, and trusted it the way you trust a parent because you do not think to ask for proof from someone who held you when you cried. I typed in my notes app, trust docs received. Principal protection clause, clear. No dual signature on file, no accounting ever provided to beneficiary, me. I was 25 3 years ago. That meeting never happened. Then I cried. Not from sadness exactly. More from the specific vertigo of realizing that something you were told was a feeling, her grief, her hard years, her best effort, was actually a fact. A number. A line in a legal document. Facts can be checked. I called Ruth Ann. We talked for 2 hours. By the end of it, I had the name of an attorney who handled trust disputes, and I had made an appointment for the following Thursday. In the meantime, my mother texted to ask how I was doing. I stared at the message for a long time. I typed back, "Okay." Still sorting out the housing stuff. I did not tell her about the court documents. I did not tell her about Ruth Ann. I kept my voice easy and normal the same way I had been keeping it for 27 years, because I had learned early that keeping the peace was my job in our family and rocking the boat had consequences. But I kept adding to the notes app. I added the dates of every text she had sent me that referenced money. I wrote down what she had said versus what the documents showed. I listed every time she had used the word trust as a verb. Trust me, just trust that I handled it. And compared it to the times she used it as a noun, meaning the actual legal structure with my actual name on it. It was not the same thing. She had been using the word both ways, and I had not noticed until I wrote them side by side. I was not a lawyer. I was a 27-year-old former events coordinator eating reduced-price soup and building a case in a notes app. But I was building it. The attorney's name was not important. What was important was the look on her face when I spread the printouts across her desk. The trust documents. The bank records I had subpoenaed with her help. The screenshot trail from my mother's texts. She asked how long it had been since the trust was supposed to be distributed. 3 years, I said. She asked if my mother had ever provided a written accounting. No. She said there was nothing left. The attorney looked at me with the kind of measured patience that must come from years of watching people understand things they should have been told a long time ago. She said, based on what you've shown me, the trust account was drawn down over a 7-year period beginning when you were 12. The withdrawals don't match any documented expenses for your care or household maintenance. Some of them were made in the same week as purchases on your mother's personal credit card. Purchases we can cross-reference if we request her bank records. What kind of purchases? I asked, even though part of me already knew. Vacations, she said. A car. A kitchen renovation. The kitchen renovation. I remembered that. I remembered being 14 and thinking the new countertops were beautiful. I had helped her pick the tile. I felt something shift in my chest. Not anger exactly, something slower and deeper than anger. The understanding that I had been present for my own loss and had not known what I was watching. I said, I want to proceed. She nodded. This is going to require contacting your mother formally. Are you prepared for that? I thought about the bounced check. The text saying, give it a few days. The closed account she'd handed me while smiling. Yes, I said. What does it look like when she finds out? It depends on her response. If she cooperates, we document and settle. If she doesn't, we go to probate court. A judge reviews the trust activity. She would have to account for every withdrawal on record. I looked down at my hands. I thought of all the times I had asked her to help me understand our finances, and she had changed the subject. All the times she called me dramatic for worrying about money. You have a trust, Maggie. You'll be fine. You're always fine. Okay, I said. Let's start. The attorney sent a formal demand letter on a Wednesday. By Friday morning, my mother had called me 6 times. I let them all go to voicemail. Her first message was confused. Honey, I don't know what you think is happening, but this is some kind of mistake. Please call me. Her second was hurt. I cannot believe you went and got a lawyer without even talking to me first. After everything I've done for you. Her third was angry. I sacrificed my life for you. I kept a roof over your head. I went without so you could have things. This is how you repay me. Her fourth was quieter, more careful. There are things you don't understand about those years. I can explain if you just call me. Her fifth was crying. Her sixth was a single sentence. Your father would be so disappointed in you. I sat on the floor of my kitchen after that last message and let myself feel the weight of it. Because it hurt, even knowing what I knew, even with the documents on my laptop and the notes app with 112 entries, it hurt in the specific way that only your mother's voice can hurt you. I had not decided I did not love her. I had decided I needed the truth more than I needed her to be comfortable. I wrote in my notes, she called 6 times. Did not address a single specific in the demand letter. Only referenced feelings and my father. No mention of accounting. No denial of withdrawals. Then I got up and made a cup of tea and called Ruth Ann. She answered on the first ring. The hearing was 6 weeks later. It was not a criminal trial. I want to be clear about that because people always want the dramatic version with handcuffs and a verdict. What it was a probate hearing in a small courtroom that smelled like old paper and climate-controlled air. My mother sat across a table with a lawyer she had hired in the 3 days after receiving the demand letter. She looked smaller than I expected. She was wearing the gray blazer she wore to important things. When the judge asked her to account for the trust withdrawals, she said she had acted in good faith, that expenses during a difficult time had necessitated accessing the funds, that she had intended to restore the balance before I turned 25 and circumstances had prevented it. The judge asked if she had dual authorization for any of the withdrawals. She said she had believed she had discretionary authority. The judge showed her the document that said otherwise. I did not feel triumphant. I want to be clear about that too, because triumphant is the wrong word for what it feels like to watch your mother be wrong in front of a stranger with legal authority. What I felt was something closer to grief. The specific grief of a fact that cannot be undone. The judge ordered a full accounting. An independent trustee was appointed to review every transaction over the 12-year history of the trust. My mother was required to participate in mediation with that trustee and to provide documentation for every withdrawal. A repayment schedule was established based on what could be verified as personal use. She did not go to prison. She did not lose her house in Phoenix. What she lost was something I think felt worse to her. The story, the version of events where she was the sacrificing mother who gave everything and got nothing back. In that courtroom, that story did not survive the paper trail. Afterward, in the parking lot, she walked toward me. I thought she might apologize. Instead, she said, "I hope you feel better now. I hope this was worth it to you." I looked at her for a long moment. "You told me our whole lives that actions have consequences," I said. "That if I made a choice, I had to own it. So I'm asking you to own yours. Not because I want to hurt you. Because I needed someone to finally tell the truth." She turned and walked to her car. I stood in that parking lot and felt the wind and thought about my father. About the $62,000 he had set aside so I would have something to stand on if things got hard. About the fact that he had tried to protect me from a distance he couldn't see across. I thought he did protect me. Just not the way either of us expected. It took me a long time to figure out what to do with the relationship after that. My mother sends emails now, not texts, emails, which somehow feel more managed. About her garden in Phoenix, about shows she is watching, about how she hopes I am doing well. They are cordial and distant and feel like letters from someone who once knew me. Sometimes I write back, sometimes I don't. What I know is this. The day she handed me that check from a closed account, she thought she was managing the situation the way she had always managed situations. Quietly, quickly, keep moving. The girl doesn't need to understand, she just needs to believe it's fine. She had been doing that since I was 12 years old, and it had worked until I stopped needing it to work. I didn't go looking for a fight. I went looking for the truth about money my father left me, so I could pay my rent. What I found was a paper trail she never thought I would request, a legal document she had never shown me, and an accounting she had no defense for, once I knew what questions to ask. The Notes app on my phone still has 147 entries. I have never deleted it. Not because I'm angry, because I spent 27 years trusting the story I was given without checking the source. And I am not going to do that again. So if you're out there, and someone in your family has ever said trust me, just trust me. And something in your gut has always felt wrong but you couldn't name it because they were family. And families don't do that to each other. I want you to know that public records exist, that probate courts are real and accessible and have your name on file if someone put it there without telling you, that you are allowed to ask for documentation from someone who loves you, that love and accountability are not opposites, and that sometimes the most powerful thing you can do is simply refuse to let the story stay comfortable.